Whether you're into comedians roasting each other's life choices or turning yesterday's bad decisions into today's funny stories, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Download the Amazon Music app and get in on the joke. Or go to amazon.com/ad-free comedy. That's amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Leo season's here, and if you've been craving the courage to show up and be truly seen, I made something for you. Safe to Be Seen is my new seasonal workbook filled with soul-centered prompts, mirror work, and grounding rituals to help you embody your light without fear. This isn't about performance, it's about presence, and you're ready. Download it now at my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or you can go to my link tree on my Instagram, and there's a link directly there. Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Melissa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Today we have a truly transformational guest, someone who helps leaders go beyond high performance while discovering the inner gold of peace, fulfillment, and joy. David Gilbert is an executive coach, author, men's work facilitator, and explorer of human potential. With a college degree in design thinking and a background in business and peak performance, David has helped executives, entrepreneurs, and high achievers break through unseen barriers, redefine their vision, and create extraordinary results, not just in their careers, but in every aspect of life. He's the author of The Alchemical Journey, a book that reveals the hidden path to true self-mastery, and the co-author of Peak Performance, Mindset Tools for Business. Today, he's here to share insights on how to become the alchemist of your life, transforming your deepest resistance into gold, rewiring limiting beliefs, and stepping into your highest potential. Get ready for a powerful conversation that will change the way you think about adversity, fulfillment, and transformation. I had such a good time with David. Really felt connected. Just love the work that he's doing. I think you're going to love this conversation. It was just beautiful. I don't know. If you didn't hear my ad about my new workbook, it is called Safe to Be Seen. Check it out. I've advertised it. So look at that. Be patient with the ads. I love you. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Here's me and David. Emotionally unavailable. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing good today. Feeling grateful. How about you?
I don't have as sweet of an answer. I'm tired. My daughter has swimmer's ear, so I got to bed late, and then she woke me up in the middle of the night, and then was up early also because it was hurting.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Okay, so little PSA. I'm already recording, so as soon as I give you the next PSA, we'll just jump in. I do a separate introduction, like whenever I'm about to air the episode, I just record. I'll do the whole like read your bio. I include any link you want in the show notes, all of that stuff. So that's where like I really feature what it is you do, and then this part is just an organic conversation.
Awesome. Sounds great.
I've started giving that PSA because sometimes I get I didn't know we were recording. I'm like, damn it, it said it when you entered the room. Anyway, okay, so I have a really weird place that I want to start because I was really drawn to this part of your bio. And it seems stupid to start here, but I'm like, you have to tell me about this, man. The tattoo thing, how you realized, like, after learning about alchemy, that your tattoo was the 3 parts of alchemy or something?
Yeah.
What the hell? What is that? What do you mean? Tell me about it.
All right. Do you want me to get the full story?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I want to know about it.
Okay, let's jump in. So I'll put some context. This really started from going after the dream. Like when my mom asked me, what do I want to do as a kid? I was like, open a business and live by the beach. And I'm currently living in San Diego. And in 2020, I signed the lease to go in for a retail store in San Diego, living the dream. And I thought my dream was to be a big business owner. I was selling t-shirts in high school, so I went for it. Worst time in our history to open a retail store. But going for that, what I thought I wanted, crashing and burning. I got out of the lease after a year and a half. I just never got momentum. That led to the work I do now. And it was during that transition period, like when I had the store finally shut down and sold all the product, and I was at home and I was sitting in the office here and I had a little couch and I bought The Idiot's Guide to Alchemy, just randomly on Amazon. And I'll pause there for a second and just talk about the tattoo sleeve. So for the listeners, there's a knight. It's kind of hard to see. And he has his hand on top of the sword and it's going into the ground. And then the shield is on the ground. And then on the back is a dragon, a black dragon that's 10 to 100 times bigger than the knight. And that tattoo was originally going to be the Saint Michael killing the demon underneath. So in my early 20s, when I was going to art school, art college, I was really in my dark night of the soul. I was really depressed. I was living by myself. I legit thought I had now I just have language for it, inner critic or inner judge. Like I had a monster in my head that I called Freddy Cougar. And I finally got the courage. I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the tattoo artist in Pasadena. I'm going to get this I'm going to get the St. Michael tattoo where he's killing the demon underneath him, except I drew my own version of a knight and underneath was Freddy Cougar. And this is my declaration to the universe. I'm going to overcome this. Which I went to the tattoo shop in Pasadena and I was like so excited. Finally got there, right? I showed him and he looks at the drawing. He looks at my arm. He looks at the drawing and he's like, you know what? I won't even do this. Like the way that his arm is up with the sword and like on your forearm, it's going to be curved. It's not going to look that good. Like I won't even put my name on this.
Damn.
I know. So I walked away like, oh, okay. Well,
God, that does not feel good.
And what's interesting was I went home and meditated, and what I have now is the vision that came up. And I didn't really think too much of it. I went with it. And then little after, every guy in my family, every man has had his pilot's license. So I got my pilot's license. So I have wings underneath. And then later I got a Dia de los Muertos. It was originally going to be a woman slowly turning into Skull, to just like an ode to mortality. But this is what it turned into when I worked with my tattoo artist in Long Beach.
Yeah.
So back to sitting in the office, opening up The Idiot's Guide to Alchemy. And I opened to the chapters where it talks about the 3 phases of alchemy. And the first phase is the black phase. And the black phase is represented by the black dragon. And that could be a symbol of the unconscious. It could be a symbol of the force of chaos within the universe, or just the force of nature that we can never truly control.
Mm-hmm.
And all you could do is stand up courageously to it
Oh, I like that.
with the shield down,
Mm-hmm.
symbolically. And then the second phase is the white phase, and that's represented by a white rose. There's a white
Oh,
rose for the
yeah.
listeners, and that's when you get to know your highest essence. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment phase. It's like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel of your potential or possibility. And then there's the red phase of alchemy, which is symbolized by a red rose. And this is when the inner king and queen, which is a symbol for inner masculine and feminine, or two different parts, come together in union and then give birth to the philosopher's stone or the philosopher's child. So this was blank
Wow.
because we had the tattoo artist in Long Beach. We just got one of the girl tattoo artists to take a picture like holding her hair, and it was just always blank. And I was just gonna fill it in black. But after that like fully settled in, that I like was reading that and looked down and realized I have all three symbols exactly, and then there's even a little space for a little ruby. It was just like,
Yeah. Man, were you like, I knew it. Like, did it make things make sense? Like things clicked? Like you, I don't want to say it like this, but like, did your path make a little more sense? Like when you started to understand alchemy?
it started clicking, and it was like more and more and more, because
Mm-hmm.
like I could see this little golden thread in my life.
Yeah,
Because
like you
even
started to get the outline of a puzzle.
yes, because it's
Yeah.
been something in me from young. Like I was doing golden lifestyle back in out of high school, like selling shirts. And then before, like I would just have like this guide of staying golden. So this thing of golden life, golden lifestyle, like was always in me. And then it was when I had the store, I finally made the Golden Life Academy, a course on manifestation, and the physical storefront, not the online store, was called Meditation and Manifestation Supply Store. And I also, in that course, I was like, the manifestation process is simplified. It's the head, heart, and hands, right? You like have a clear picture, coherent picture. You feel the emotions as if it's here, and you go create with your hands. And I thought I was novel for connecting those dots. But once I learned about that and then started learning more about alchemy, it was like, oh yeah, and the alchemists practice the masculine and feminine meditations, as well as, which is another way to say, like typically what we think of meditation and what we think of manifestation, as well as they use their head, heart, and hands to go create. So it was just like, okay, golden life, become the alchemist, like, start to turn your lead into gold. And then it continued to just unravel from there.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this. My impression from reading your profile was that it was more that your belief system or whatever is more in the scientific metaphysical than spiritual, but it feels like you are spiritual.
Yeah.
So is that right?
Yeah. And this is what's funny. Like the alchemist point of view is exactly that. So it was, a lot of people think of like alchemists, those are like crazy dudes turning lead into gold. But what they were really doing was taking a physical process, taking a lesser item, transmuting it into its highest potential, and understanding how nature works. So most importantly, they could apply themselves or apply that process to themselves. So it was a deeply spiritual practice, but very physically, scientifically based.
Yeah. Did you get hooked from the scientific part of it first or the spiritual part of it first? Because I feel like mine was a mixture, but probably I was more willing to lean into the science stuff for like because I'm like, hey, I'm not crazy. This shit's science. What the fuck? And then as I've like grown in my authenticity, I'm like, I might be crazy and I'm 100% okay with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a mix, but I know a big catalyst 2019 when I like went on a much deeper journey, like Joe Dispenza, getting into his stuff then. And I was into other manifestation stuff before that, and just spirituality and like exploring everything. But I'd say when he really brought the science, I have like a strong analytical brain. So that's when it started to like click and
Yeah.
open, like, okay,
Exactly.
we can go into the woo-woo stuff.
Exactly. And see, I really don't. Okay, I do have an analytical brain, but I wouldn't call it like it was never like cynical, critical. I've always been pretty open, but there was some real hard stops at first. Like the first time I went to see a medium, like after years of being, it's 11:11 on my clock now, but after years of being really afraid of that because of religious programming, I was like, oh, I cannot be letting them demons in my life, But I went and he was the first person to say, like, you pick this experience and you pick your parents, and it pissed me off so bad. But I worked through the trigger because I was like, we'll put that on the shelf. Okay, bring it in. And I really trusted him. Like the energy was and I was like, I got to look into this. But that was my first exposure to that. But I was a hard stop. And there was a couple other hard stops. But then as there was like a scientific book, and that's what made me think, okay, I think maybe I just care more what people think about my beliefs than I actually do like resist this shit. But that leads me to a question that I had too. So you lost your dad when you were 11. And I wondered, once you entered this world of spirituality and you have the beliefs that you do, if that changes the way, because it really did for me, but I wonder if it's changed the way you've grieved and perceive who your dad was then, how he informs your life still, and kind of what you think about afterlife, etc.
Yeah, I love that. Beautiful question. And yeah, it's definitely been like the biggest shift is like for me, acknowledging I didn't lose anything, right? He just shifted states. Like being able to settle in that. It's one thing mentally to get it, but then like to be able to settle into that. And the other part of it was 2019. I did a mastermind, and this was the first time I did a breathwork journey. And that's just the distinction I add when you do breathwork for 40 minutes to an hour, similar to holotropic. And that was my first time doing it. I did like Wim Hof and stuff before that, but we're out in Sedona with Anahata Ananda, and she had like these facilitators and music, and there's like a group of 40 of us in there. And we're doing this breath work where you just lay down and you basically just breathe deep, and there's music going. So you like kind of breathe with the music, and she kind of guides you. And we're like about halfway, and I was like, okay, this is cool. I'm not really, just breathing. And then she had these facilitators, and my eyes were closed, but somebody comes with a big ass man hand and puts it on top of my hand halfway through. And instantly I was sent back to the night I lost my dad. And just that, why is this real? All the things that come up when you lose somebody suddenly. And it was after that experience when I was just processing. It was funny. My buddy, Chris Hager, like saw me walk out, and cause they're like rounds. So they were going next. He's like, how was it? And I just look at him. He's like, oh, oh, okay.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah. So I was processing that afternoon, and like the visual that came up for me, I grew up on a walnut farm. So it was like a walnut. It was like I tucked away a lot of that grief that I thought I dealt with, but I really didn't. It tucked away, it got hard like a shell, and that breath work like cracked it open and allowed those emotions to start to bubble up and flow.
Yeah. I try to be so careful about these conversations for listeners, because I know how triggering some of it can be if you just haven't like gotten to what we believe. But like, man, I just recently, because of this show, I keep getting to meet like these fucking amazing people who like help me, so it's great. But just recently I had a medium on, and really got even just a deeper sense of peace about the relationships with both of my parents are gone. And I was primarily raised by my grandma, my maternal grandma. And she really was a narcissist and just was a very hurt human and didn't see it, and there was a lot of strife at the end of her life. And our relationship had been strained for several years because how like a golden child turns into the black sheep when they get boundaries with family. So I was really distant from her emotionally after she left because it was like, or, died, but I was angry and I didn't know where to put it. And even though I like have all the clinical background and blah, 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 it's so different when it's your shit. And I just didn't, I didn't even know how to look at it. It was really, I was so separated from it. And this experience with the medium really helped me because she's never come through really. Sort of, she showed up, but she didn't try to communicate, and I didn't either because I didn't want to. Yeah. But this time she did, and it was right here on the show. And all of a sudden, when the medium said that, because both my parents were addicts, so my dad died of an overdose when I was 15, and then my mom died while incarcerated when I was almost 22 of cirrhosis and hep C, and she was HIV positive. But the medium basically said like this was kind of just like a lifetime she didn't pass the test for, and then we talked a little bit about my grandma, but I started to understand that the same was true for my grandma, and the peace that I have found through that understanding. But also it finally hit home because the first medium I went to had said they're helping you from the other side in the way that they couldn't hear, but I wasn't there yet. Like I didn't have any of the knowledge that I have now or the understanding. So I was like, interesting. Okay. But it didn't resonate, but it didn't feel blocked either. It was just like, tuck that away. And when she said it, it was a instant connection to where I was like, I get this now. And I knew like I went to that first medium 3 times because the second time I was like, I just like, who else is around? Because I'm feeling all of these people all the time and I want confirmation, but also is my mom on my spirit team, And he was like, absolutely, blah, blah, blah. And then she confirmed that too. But I'm just like, that's how they're helping me from the other side. Like, I get it now. Okay, great. But it totally informs grief for me. And I don't know that if I had these beliefs when it happened, that it would have made it any easier at the time. Because I think grief is what it is, right? Yeah. But it being this age now, because I'm 45 now, so my parents have been gone a very long time. So to finally get this feeling of like, I get why it happened now, it just like, because when you wrote in your profile like the shit you started questioning after losing your dad, which is so normal. I mean, I don't know if this happened to you, but for me, it was an immediate, everyone's gonna die, so who's next? Like I was constantly, are you gonna die? Are you gonna die? Are you gonna die? And then why did this even happen? And even like I have a schizophrenic brother who is chronically unhoused and like literally lives on the streets, things like that. And for so many fucking years I've been so angry, like, what is the fucking purpose of this boy's life? Like, he's just a year older than me, but like, why? Why are you fucking on this earth just to be miserable? And now I don't have to wrestle with questions like that anymore either.
Yeah. It's definitely been a similar path. Like even for myself, one of the biggest reality shattering moments in the beginning was my wife, who is a hairdresser, and one of her clients is a secret medium. And then said things about her grandma that only Alyssa knew, my wife, and brought that home one day. And I was just like, huh, like, and like, just like you, like, okay, like, yeah. And then that led to another experience where another medium where he would just channel people's kind of energy on another level. And I was sitting in the room seeing this done with multiple people, sharing things about their story that nobody else would know. So it was like, there's still a little voice like, could this really be real? But I found that's the beautiful thing about this kind of journey, that if you're like willing to jump into it, the universe is sending little pings And like over time, it will give you the experiences you need to like let that fully settle in.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's parts of grief that I'm with you. Like it just takes longer to process. I don't know if it's true necessarily, but I heard 7 years as like a number.
Really?
Yeah. But if anything, that's to acknowledge this isn't a thing that just like you just bypass one day, right? It's just like
Right. I wish it was.
You do. But that's the like the physical biological being part of us, right? The like the not quite animal, but a little bit of animal like in human form. And if you go deeper into this work, like my own perspective is we are the divine energy of creation with infinite intelligence and creativity, and we come from like a sea, a ocean of the energy of creation, which is the fancy word for love. And we come into human form to have these experiences and like rediscover our way back home, back to love. So with that, like the challenges and all the loved ones who go through all the hard things and the triggers, and sometimes they seem like the enemies in life, like are really our greatest teachers.
Yes.
We get to learn, like alchemy. It's like if you have the polarity of one side, like the other side's available to you. I'm sure for you, like for me, after losing, I asked, what makes life worth living, and then same thing, why is life so painful, and then something like literally last night, having one of my best friends down and having from my hometown and having a beautiful meal, like that is my greatest goal, because I know the opposite of losing.
Yes.
That.
Yes.
But you have to be willing to jump into the pain, which also just give yourself freaking grace.
Absolutely.
It does hurt. Like your
It
heart does
does.
get shattered. But it's been really, this year, it's really come clear to me of like, how do we expand our capacity? Let's say something like love or in a relationship. It's by breaking it. And then that gives more, when you build it back together, that's when your heart can expand on new levels. And that's the same thing in any relationship, like by breaking that in some regard. And when you do that over time, like you'll get to a place where it's like, oh wow, like your loved ones are setting little signals or little synchronicities or little things, and those right healers will show up when you're ready for it, and like have that deeper release over time. Because that's definitely been my experience. It wasn't until like about 2 years ago I met like the best wizard I've ever met, Beverly Hills wizard, Peter Evans, and like he was able to like give kind of the final release with my own dad. Same with my wife and her grandma, because she had the same thing. Her grandma passed away, and that was like her core person in her life. So just trust the journey. I feel like these people are talking a lot of woo woo shit.
Don't worry, we've had a run of some real woo-woo shit on here. So one of my friends who listens to every episode sent me an email. She'll give me feedback, and she was like, that one was a little weird, but I stuck with it, and that's all I'm asking. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Just be open. Don't turn it off just because we are planting seeds, and whether you ever come to this understanding that we have or not, there are pieces that you can take that anybody can apply, whether you want to jump onto the woo-woo bridge or not. I will say, when you talk, you light up so many things I want to ask, and so it's like amazing to me. But did you ever experience, like, I went through this little period of grief probably about 7 months ago, whenever I first got very solid on my belief system on like soul contracts and blah, blah, blah. I started to think, well, then they're not my mom and my dad and my grandmas and all the people I've lost. They're not that to me on that side. So like, it makes me sad. Like that made me really sad. I was really depressed about that for probably 3 days, where like, I was like, but they don't love me like that anymore. And then like the evolution of that for me became, we've known each other in many lifetimes, and the connection we share is way more than love from a mother child, or like we are bound together. And so that, whether that's fucking true or not, that's what like helped me come out of that, because I was like, well, why are they still around then? Because that, I mean, if that's not what we truly are on the other side, but I do believe that my kids and I have been through many lifetimes together. I think that they and I have been. So that's where I kind of got to in order to grapple with what was hurting me. Did you experience anything like that?
I'd say not as much, more subtle, but I'll just really highlight in my perspective, like that's the path to awakening, like really awakening of like I am you, you are me, right? We're all
Yeah.
embodied. And the more we can settle like the Hermetic philosophy, which is the alchemists, and this is also scientific, the quantum, like everything is created through energy, right? And you could say that energy is consciousness. So that's
Mhm.
just to say, like, we're in the one mind of God, source, creator, whatever language you want to use, which is just, it's just
Yeah.
language. So if we're all in that, we're all one, like everything we see is of God. And if we can come to that place where like the illusion of separation has been like the greatest detriment to humanity, and the more we could settle into, oh wow, we could play this game where like loved ones like have free will, and we could try to pretend we're not part of God, and we could hurt each other and like do things we would never do if we just knew we were all part of the same source. And then find our way back to love and spend lifetimes together and evolve and develop and try different roles and grow and
Right.
like a playground for the soul.
But imagine that's the reason people are so resistant to this way of thinking. Like, if you were to just throw this shit at somebody who's never experienced any sort of spirituality and has only understood religious programming the way it's taught in the US and other places, but you know what I'm saying? Because like I'm in Oklahoma, and here it really doesn't fucking matter what you are. You're a fundamentalist. I don't give a shit what anybody says. I was raised in these churches. I know what they are, and it's all fire and brimstone. I don't care who you are. And in some versions, it's more fire and brimstone than others, but it's all there all the time. But I really, everything shifted for me when I started to understand the concept I'm the universe is me, but also um I had to really work through like my betrayal wound and all of these like things that just wounds that were created in childhood, and
Yeah.
and holes that I was asking everyone around me to fill because I didn't know how to love myself. And I was so fucking unaware of that. Like I did not have a single clue that I couldn't love myself. And when I started to, and I really started to fill my own cup and fill all those holes up with the love that I was cultivating for myself, and then I recognized, this is the only true love there is what you cultivate for yourself. And that is what is shared with others. And I had confused dopamine, adrenaline, serotonin, oxytocin, all of those things with love. That doesn't have shit to do with love, right? But once I started to love myself and see, like, just do way less of the us versus them and see more of the us in them. And, instead of them, it's we. And I started to feel so fucking connected to humanity. Like everything shifted then. Everything. That was when everything in my life changed, because I could look at people and go, "Oh, I do that too." Like, and when I could understand, like, I'm just a human and they're just a human, like, really the only caveat I have to this is like sex, like pedophiles basically, like, I maybe one day I'll find some grace in my heart, but I don't. So, I'm not going to resist it. It is what it is. But like, other than that, man, I just picture us all like holding hands around a globe and fucking singing Kumbaya, like it's crazy, but I feel the connection, like our hands, like would become one, like each hand is just one hand, because I feel the energy of everybody else. And I mean, I know that sounds like a crazy ass thing for people who aren't here, but like it helps so much because you just stop all the judgment.
Yeah, it's freedom. It's just freedom on a
Yes.
whole different level. And what you're talking about is the alchemical journey, right? This is something alchemists have been studying for thousands of years, and it's the first phase is really the burning of the beliefs, right? The unconscious beliefs, which if you haven't checked your beliefs, then you have other people's beliefs. It's as simple as that. So it's like burning the sacred cows. And then it's exactly what you've been sharing. Once you burn the sacred cows, like there's a lot of emotions tied to those. Right? Rage, it could be grief, it could be whatever, and you have to release those emotions to let them let go. And then from there, the third phase is the getting the truth that's worth caring. Like if it's losing a loved one, it's like what, the truth that they're always going to be with you, or that you got to experience the love while you're with them, or whatever it is. And then from there, the fourth phase is conjunction. So this is where you get through the black phase, and now it's about bringing it into your heart. And from there, it's like you realize you have these different parts of you with different needs, and you have the inner child, and like a wise elder, and then the protector, and like how do you start to bring these all into your heart? And to your point, that's when you start to feel the difference. Like, oh wow, that's what it feels like to fill those holes.
Yeah, because I was not able to receive love from anyone. I had a full belief that nobody on this earth loved me the way I was loving everybody else. And also, I just felt like super on the periphery of every relationship, all by my own design, I realize now.
Yeah.
But for a long time, I felt so fucking self-righteous in all of those times that I pushed people away and wouldn't share my shit with them. But in my head, they weren't allowing me to share my shit because I couldn't handle if you didn't give me the exact posture and the exact response that felt really comfy for me. I have always been really resistant to unsolicited advice. I recognize that as a trauma response now, but it's who I've always been. It's something I've just started to overcome, like to where I'm like, become the container for all of these feelings that are happening, because that's not their fault that you're feeling this. But damn, dude, for a long time, it was nobody supports me. Nobody loves me. I have the weight of the world on my shoulders and no one to help me carry it. And that's a narrative we all have, whether you're aware of it or not.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand that I was doing all of this to myself. And that I remember I made this friend, Pete, blue collar spiritualist. He came on my show. We met on TikTok and he's like, I have a show. And I'm like, I have a show. Let's swap, whatever. We become friends. He comes on. Man, he triggered me like 4 fucking times in that interview because I wasn't there yet. Victim consciousness was not something I was ready to discuss because I did not see myself as a victim in the conscious. Obviously, in the subconscious, I absolutely had victimized myself. But I was like, Pete, and he was like, well, you attracted this experience. So, and I was like, you should fuck up, Pete. And then it was probably like 4 months later, I was like, I kind of understand what he was saying now. And I went back to him. I'm like, yo, my bad. But it's been an evolution to get to a place where I'm like, I fucking love myself. And I was still really outsourcing my power. I mean, this has been growth in the last couple of weeks where I'm coming back to the understanding I am the universe is me. And I keep waiting because I'm an entrepreneur, and my income is not where it was when I quit my job to do this. So it's stressful as fuck. All right. And I've been trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing wrong. And it occurred to me like, well, the biggest thing you're doing wrong is outsourcing your power. I'm still sitting around feeling like there's a punishment versus reward dynamic between me and, the universe. And that's not the case. And like, I had to go, I'm the fucking master of this universe. So like, I need to create a new reality. And that reality needs to look a lot more like, hell yeah, I'm worthy. Hell yeah, I'm valuable. Like where I'm really pouring that in instead of it being a subconscious thought of, but really, are you worth it? And really, do you deserve it? And really, are you sure you shouldn't do something different?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And that's the path, right? It's becoming a victim to a co-creator. And it's so funny because we just love our stories. The ego loves to be right and it's built to survive. So it's like, do you look at a baby and question its inherent divinity? Right? No.
Right.
What's the difference between you and the baby? A
Yeah.
shitload of story and some
Yeah.
experiences, but who's filtering if that's right or wrong?
Damn
So.
it. Okay, I have a question too. I was a little nervous to touch on this because well, you just never know how, conversations with men are going to go. But I want to talk about your I'll use this word, interpretation of the divine masculine, because I had to get very in touch with my feminine because I had not lived in that place my entire life. I was in this state of survival and very in the masculine, very I'm going to control, and not like the good masculine, like just very, looking for control. I had so many narcissistic traits, honestly, just from being raised by one. It was not good. So I'm really curious about the divine masculine because I feel like I can tap into that sometimes, like when I'm getting shit done and it's really cohesive and feels very alchemized. But I don't I just want to hear from a male what you feel in the masculine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to highlight too, like for you and the listeners, remember when you go through this journey, you're going to die to who you think you are. Like it's literally a death. It's an ego death.
Mm-hmm.
And then give yourself grace, because I brought up a baby. Like you're like a baby entering a whole new world where you have to learn how to crawl, walk, and run all over again. So just
That's a good reminder. Thank you for that.
because you could be like, oh, I know these things. I got to be the powerful one. And then you fall
Yeah, and
back
then you
into
start to
old
judge
patterns.
yourself.
And then you
Yes.
start to judge yourself. And you're like, no, wait, I'm learning how to live from the embodiment of love and my true divine power and like express through that. But this is a whole new world because my whole history, I was living a whole different way of being. And like didn't have that trust with the universe and everything else. So like grace is like so critical where you're at. And then to jump into the divine masculine, it's like we go on this journey, and even the alchemical process is to find that inner balance, the sacred union between your own inner masculine and inner feminine, divine inner masculine and divine feminine. And I say that the divine masculine is like a mountain, and it's focused, its end goal is freedom, whereas divine feminine is love. And another way, it's like the divine masculine is like, what do we got to do to get to the place of freedom? And this is my purpose. And usually the purpose is tied into a win-win-win, win for that person, win for somebody else, win for the whole universe. So like the evolution of the cosmos.
Yeah.
Whereas the divine feminine is about being. It's about surrendering into love. So masculine, you could think almost more disciplined to pursue purpose over everything else, because it wants the freedom of becoming ultimate oneness with consciousness. Whereas divine feminine is like a flower blossoming. It's like I have on my head, like the divine masculine wants to become a crystallized prism, crystal, a clear crystal of consciousness. Whereas the divine feminine is like a flower and is learning how to open up and surrender into love. And the divine masculine is the one who can create the container, the safe space for the feminine to be. And like the mountain that can stay sturdy amongst any storm and is always holding the container down.
Okay.
So being able to lean in, and then once you get deeper into, it's like as a man, like I had to go through a moment of learning how to fight in some regards, of like boxing and going through this other crazy experience, Modern Day Nut Project, because I need to develop that inner warrior to know that as the masculine, I could be a protector if I need to. And if I didn't deal with that, there would always be this unconscious voice as the masculine that says, oh, you don't know what to do if you get in a fight. And then you're not going to be grounded in that energy as like the container, the protector of that container. And then from there, once you get that warrior on board, and like you go you learn that like emotions are part of being human, and like the masculine can be fully grounded in their expression of their emotions while ultimately like keeping the awareness of that it's all consciousness, that we're all one. Like that's
Right.
the state. And then from there, the next evolution for the masculine is to receive the feminine. So that's part of the emotionally opening up, right? So being able
Yeah.
to receive, and this is how you receive spirit. Like you have to be able to receive and get to that place. And then it becomes a balance of the inner masculine and inner feminine. And if you want it to be simplified, think of the feminine as the being, as creativity, as going with the flow, whereas the masculine is the doing, is the purpose driven, is the one with the vision, trying to create something towards somewhere. So it's how do you find that balance in yourself?
I love that. It makes me think of like how women become soft with men that they feel safe with. And I like that. And it also like, because for a hot minute while I was really surrendering, I also was like, am I not using enough of the masculine here? Because I went through some real like stress with one of my kids, and I want to say shut down, but it really was like more like hypothermia, where I could only like all the blood was pumping to the most vital organs, like I was just very compact and very much like, this is how we get through that. Like I have to not be able to, like, I can't overextend myself. I had to just get really laser focused on what I was doing so that I could do what I needed to do and cope emotionally. And it was a really stressful 6 months. And on top of that, financial stress, it's constantly like, what the fuck am I doing wrong here? But I just have wondered about myself. Like, I feel like I have a good balance between the two, because I will be in the feminine in terms of understanding how little control I have while also having all of the control, like
Yeah.
that control is different than what my human self defines as control. But I do the things that I need to do, but I'm not like chasing shit, like I really feel into what's the next step and I do that. Like I'm just trying not to do too far ahead, like future forecasting, or even chasing too much, because I got really busy there for a minute and I didn't have any opportunity for anything new to kind of take over anyway. You know what I mean? So, but sometimes I feel like I'm judging myself, like it's a fear that I'm not in touch enough now with my masculine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where, especially as you get in relationship, and it doesn't matter what orientation it is, but like you start to polarize in one or the other, right? Like since I'm in a marriage, like I polarize in my masculine and my wife polarizes in her feminine. So then you start to lean into what you are. And then it's like, can you turn on the other part when you need to? And
Okay.
another way to look at it is, like I do this with high performers. Like the formula for growth is stress plus rest. So like doing versus being. So like if you're over like a scale, if you're leaning too much into doing and burning yourself out, then rest and just being is just as important. So it's kind of like when you get into the deep weeds, and if you're somebody who's in the heat of the fire of whatever season, then it's like, what are those little practices that get you back into, if we're going to talk masculine, feminine, get you back into that, right? And it could be a
Yeah.
1 minute, it could be 10 minutes. And the other way, if you're like literally stressed out to the point, because I'm sure there's more listeners, like to your point, like so stressed out, like I can only focus on one thing. Like, okay, recovery is not an option. Like you need, for every week, like just think about half a day of something that recharges your batteries, either mentally, physically, or spiritually. And that could be a walk out in nature, right? It could be like taking or like maybe it's an hour a week of like taking a long bath, or like having a really good conversation. But those little gaps, those little space are the moments to bring you back to your center or reconnect you with the energy. If you're leaning into one energy only, then how do
Right.
you create space to, like, I don't know, if it's, you're too masculine and then you want to be more feminine, like sit down with a little, like a journal and color, like a little kid, right? Or make art
Right.
or
Yeah.
sing, or like, what are those things that bring you back into that state?
Okay. That makes me feel so much better because I feel like I'm doing a really good job of that. Like,
Yeah.
what do I need? And while I was really stressed, I did need more rest. And I gave myself permission to recover as often as I needed to, and to use recovery tools to regain energy to do the more masculine task that needed to be done. But I don't know why I was doubting myself in that. I think I just was wrestling with some ego there. And I don't know. I just was like, let me just check in, make sure I have an understanding of
Oh,
what I'm
you're
supposed to
still
be doing.
human?
Yeah,
You're
I
still
know.
human?
And
You're
I
you're
hate
still
that.
human? Oh my goodness.
Listen, this is my biggest struggle, is accepting my humanity. Like, all the time. I call it perfectionism, obviously, but like, really, I remember one time I had this guest on here, and she's like a relationship coach and super fun. She's so bubbly and just a lot of fun. And I was like, let me tell you about a fight I had with my husband yesterday. And so we're like going through this fight. And at the end of it, I was like, oh, I realize why I'm upset. I'm upset because it was messy. I didn't handle it perfectly. Like, I was a little shitty in my delivery and whatever it was. Like, I really wasn't upset at the delivery, but I was upset that it wasn't perfect, because for a long time I just wrote. Like, I've written books. I loved to overshare on fucking Facebook, all the things. I was a writer, and I leaned into that because I was terrified to speak. I felt silenced my whole life, but I perpetuated that silence by just being too afraid to not be able to correct in real time. Like, I can't edit what I'm about to say. So I got very comfortable with writing so that I could perfectly craft a message exactly how I wanted to say it. And then you also can't come back at me and say I did anything wrong in my delivery. Guess what? It never worked. Everyone was always pissed at me for anything I ever said, because I was surrounded by a bunch of fucking emotionally unavailable people. And I also was emotionally unavailable. But like, once that shifted, it was a lot easier. But I just was really afraid to use my voice. So that was the part that I was upset with. I had just started to like communicate orally and be like, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm thinking, whatever. And I think I didn't like how vulnerable I felt, obviously, but also it wasn't perfect. I couldn't perfectly craft something. And so at the end of that conversation, I was like, oh, I wasn't comfortable with the messy. And I keep learning that over and over. And I'm like, this is the part of being a human that you kind of suck at. Like, it's just the acceptance piece. You can go and fuck up and whatever if you can accept it. But I have a really hard time with getting to that place of acceptance of like, okay, I was a human again. But that's like with my kids, because I have a 22-year-old, an 18-year-old, and an 11-year-old. With them, I'm constantly like, okay, well, you did a real human thing there. So perfect. You can forgive yourself for that. That was within your design. Let's move forward, because there doesn't need to be fear and there doesn't need to be shame around this. This is exactly how things happen in life, and it's not that serious.
Yeah, it's funny because we use our biological brains to perceive reality, and we use beliefs to build our internal reality. And we think that we just want to get to a place where everything is bliss and love and everything is awesome and perfect, where it's like, hey, dummy, like, that's where you came from.
Yeah.
You came here for the growth, and the growth is not going to end until your last breath, and then it's going to continue after that. But our brains like to think that one day it will just be, this like beyond nirvana, like beyond heaven,
Yes.
blissfulness, that will just be enlightened and everything will be awesome, like the Lego
No, you're
movie.
reading my mind. I know it was almost embarrassing when I finally realized what I was striving for, because I believed that there was going to be this destination in this lifetime, not like on another plane. Here in this reality, I thought I was going to reach this state of enlightenment and nothing was going to fucking bother me anymore. Like, it was just another way to feel control over my life, you know? But like, I was like, oh shit, it's always, there's all, okay. Okay. But it was also a freedom, like understanding, like, baby, there's, because I feel bad because I tell this story way too often, but I just really, the first time I was doing an identity audit, I realized I was trying to become this perfect person who was so enlightened and just love and light, you know, all the things. But I had also just learned how to hold my fire. It was something I didn't like about myself at all, something I tried to extinguish for years, but I had just gotten to a place where I was okay with being the fierce advocate that I am for myself and for others. And professionally, I was always okay with that, but I had started to stand up for myself in a workplace that was very toxic. And there was this one bitch and I was just done. And I actually like stood in my own authority with them. And it was really powerful. It was the first time in my life that I was really like standing up for myself. Cause I've done freeze or fawn with people that, like, if you're not like super close to me, you'd never know you fucking destroyed me with something you said, you know? But now I was like, oh no, that pissed me off, and I'm going to tell you why and how you're never going to do that again. And I was okay with that. For the first time in my life, I was okay with big displays of emotions with people who I wasn't necessarily safe with. So I was like, well, I don't want to get rid of this. I like this, but how do you have this, you know, Buddhist monk thing whilst being real fiery? And I just started to understand what I was actually trying to do and that it wasn't going to happen. And that the whole point was to love all this. Like this, your fire is important and what you do with it does matter. And it is very much a part of all of my purpose was to learn how to harness that fire, because it was also my biggest source of shame, because when I didn't know how to manage it, I was very reactive. So while everybody outside of my world got freeze or fawn, everyone really close to me got the worst fucking version of me on a daily basis, because I woke up in survival mode. I went to sleep in survival mode. I used the 5 minutes of self-control and discipline I had first thing in the morning to get my kids off to school peacefully. I was really committed to that. Like, send them off with love. That's all they got. That's the only calm part of me they ever got. And then by the time they went to school, I fucking was like done with the world. I was like, oh. And so, you know, if you interacted with me after that, you were probably not going to get a very sweet version of me. But like, I think this is what we all do, is we think that there's going to be this point where we're this Buddha person on this earth. And, you know, I don't live a monk lifestyle where I don't have fucking stress. So that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that is the classic, you know, it's the part of you, the biological part that wants to spiritually bypass. And it's part of the journey, and it's going to come up because being human is freaking hard. It
is hard.
It's wild. It's a wild experience.
It is.
And what you're talking about is what the alchemists have called the great work, and the secret 8th step. When you go through all 7 steps of transmutation to become one with God and crystallize your Christedness, your divine, you know, worthiness and love. Well, the secret 8th step is to come right back to earth and simply be a light for others.
Yeah.
So we like to think, because like, you know, your heart never stops working. Your lungs never stop working. Your body is always dying and evolving. It's always having to fight gravity. So it's natural for us to be like, oh, one day we'll just, you know, I'll just go to a cave and be a monk and everything will be awesome. And it's like, that's not what we signed up for. Like,
yeah,
especially so many people today, as more and more wake up, like we signed up for the accelerated path to like go through the really hard crap and then showcase that you could be one person and completely transform into an entire new person. And then it's as you go through that journey, other people are going to be like, there's something different about you. And I can't put words to it. And then over time, like, you're still the same. No, you're happier. No, you can like share anything freely. Like, what is this? And then that's going to invite more of humanity to join us on this journey. And at the same time, we're all the cells of humanity. Like, there's 8 billion cells on this planet. And I know there's some cells that are very cancerous, but again, it's like we are a collective, and the more we can get each other to wake up and like join us, like collectively go on this ride together, the more we can create a more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. And also to your point too, it's like if you're really striving with a lot of perfectionism, you know, I deal with a lot of high performers, and it's typically the wound like I'm not worthy or I'm not lovable. So the opposite of the side is that is like you're not worthy, right? You're not lovable. You simply are. You're a divine being, and have grace for your humanity, and that's so much of the work is really, it's just like the cross. And I know my wife was like, you know, deeply in the Christian and had to pull out the sacred cows and everything else, but it's like this is what alchemists were all about, how to sit in the center point of embodying as much love and divine as as you can as a physical being, so that like you're a biological being, you're a human, and you're divine, and that's like the intersection. And just like where the heart is in the middle, right, it all comes back to being in the heart, and eventually acknowledging like we're all in this together. It's like we're all fish in the ocean, and some of us like to think that there's no water around, and then some of us are like, hey guys, there's water everywhere, we're all in this together. But the more you just like keep going, keep walking the path, like there's more beauty and gold. Like there's more gold than you could even imagine, at least in my own experience, like even possible, where you do get to these states where like you can, you know, I can have an argument with my wife, and what would take us weeks or a month to like get over, like we can get over in minutes now.
Right.
And you can like appreciate that she emotionally processes the complete opposite than me. And because of that, we're going to butt heads. But actually, that's a strength now, because now we could find the middle ground between a lot of things, because, you know, the truth is probably in between both of us, or like whatever the relationship, you know, a friend or coworker. And to your point too, like love is fierce, right? It's easy, you start on this path, or even as a Christian, like, you know, praise, like give it to Jesus, and we have this really wishy-washy idea, unconscious idea of love. We're like, if I'm just like really nice to people and they're going to be nice to me and we'll all be love and light. No, like something happens to your kids, you're going to fucking do something about it. And that is love in action. So like love and like light or truth, like is fierce. So like the more you can wield that with grace, to also acknowledge that if you just come full force love and light to somebody who's like stuck in the deep, you know, like the basement and the darkness still, and all that light comes, they're not gonna be ready for it.
Right.
That's where you, like, we get to come back to consistently, like the more you can embody, the more it opens up for people, because people want to be invited into this. Hopefully this conversation inspires more people to be invited into it versus like, you know, just like dumping it on them. And then, yeah, this is the journey.
Yeah. Man, I've loved this conversation. I appreciate you so much for just rolling with my fucking chaotic ass. And I'm so grateful for you. Is there anything that like you feel like you haven't said that you really wanted to?
I'll just cement it. This is what I love to share on podcasts. Like as a collective, like I love to share, like, hey guys, we did it. Like we could type into a computer and that can send like an AI to go have a robot go do something in physical reality. So this is to say, like, we have mastered external reality. So the only thing left for us to like really evolve together is to put up the mirror and like go deeper into yourself. And the more you can open up your heart to that mirror, like that is the secret to changing the world. And then eventually you'll realize there's a mirror behind you and it goes for infinity. And then that's when you get to ease into life in a whole new another level. And that's the freedom and love that I believe we all seek. And it's just waiting for you to find it.
I love that. Thank you. Oh, I love that so much. Well, thank you so much. I will let you know whenever it's going to air. And if anything is not included on your Podmatch profile that you want me to include links for, shoot it over and I'll be happy to do that.
All right. Sounds great.
All right.
You.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day.
You too. See ya.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelissahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. Emotionally unavailable. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming. Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.